Hey everybody, and welcome to this Getting Started in Fallout 76 guide. I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time, and now seems the ideal moment to actually do it, because today, which is the 14th of May, Fallout 76 is actually going live free for people for 4 days. So you get the chance to play the game for free for 4 days, see if you like it. And some people may be jumping into the game and not have much of a clue, maybe heard that it was terrible but got a bit better with Wastelanders, etc, etc. So I've been playing the game for quite some time now, since launch. Sure, I've been taking long breaks, jumped back in Wastelanders, so I know a fair amount about the game's mechanics. I wouldn't call myself an expert. My character here is level 92. My other character I think is level 25, something like that. So I've got a substantial amount of hours into the game, but I wouldn't necessarily say I know everything. So this is more of a guide aimed at beginner and maybe some intermediate players, to give them some hints and tips jumping into the game. So if you really don't have any clue of what Fallout 76 is, or the Fallout universe at all, maybe you didn't play 3, 4 or even any of the early games, Fallout 76 is the earliest of the Fallout games. In the timeline it's set, in that I believe it's about 30 years after the nuclear bombs went off, and it's based in Appalachia in West Virginia. We can get a really nice view actually just off here of the world. So the world isn't the desolate hellscape that you might see in Fallout 4 or 3 potentially, where everything is crumbled and broken. There were remnants of survivors here in West Virginia, but something happened to them that basically wiped them out. In the original version of the game, before Wastelanders, your job was to find out what happened and stop it, basically. And it was quite a different experience to how it is now. There were no human NPCs. I personally quite liked that approach. It was something new and different, but obviously it didn't sit well with a lot of people. They've now reintroduced Wastelanders in. This is set essentially now a year after that initial, I guess, opening to Fallout 76. The 1 year after what they call Reclamation Day, where you leave the vault, and there are now NPCs come back in, and it's very, very good. The storyline's good. Some of the changes they've made have been really good, and it's nice just to see people, I guess, out and about in the world. It feels a little bit more real, a bit more dynamic. It's post-apocalyptic, as I kind of said before, so nuclear bombs dropped, so you have all sorts of crazy mutated creatures. I'm probably attacking my base right now. You have all sorts of crazy mutated creatures. You have raiders, you have settlers, you have all sorts of different factions. You still have the whole quest line from the original Fallout 76, shall we say, pre-Wastelanders, which you can do. It is slightly streamlined in some places. They've made it slightly easier, a bit less working some things out. There's some, for example, the one I can think of recently doing was a quest line where you had to go and get some answers for a test, but they actually put the answer sheet like right next to it, so you didn't have to go searching around for all the answers, to kind of help streamline that, I guess, for people. But otherwise, sometimes there were little twists on the original kind of questline, but not so much that you would probably notice if you played a long time ago. But there were little things which were different around there. So you now have a whole heap of content in Fallout 76 to kind of play through as well. But getting started, I kind of wanted to talk about just the way the game plays. So obviously it's first-person shooter. In previous Fallouts 3 and 4, you could do something which was called VATS, which kind of like stopped or really slowed down time. Let's get my Gatling laser out and I'll show you what it looks like now. So when you activate VATS, and if you're playing on a controller, it's usually your left bumper, or I don't know actually what it is on mouse and keyboard on PC. I play on PC, but I use a controller because it's just easier for me. So when you get some enemies, you get this, which gives you a percentage chance to hit. And you can get different perks, which we'll get into the perks, which allow you to, say, target different limbs and things like that. The advantage to VATS is that you can get upgrades, say perk cards they're called, which make it better, make it stronger. You can get critical hits, so you can do a lot of damage with it. I personally don't use it because I just play this game almost like a first-person shooter, but it's entirely up to you whether you want to or not. But that's what VATS does now. It is good if you don't know where an enemy is and it's quite nearby. If you tap it, and it will kind of spring to that enemy. So it can be quite useful just to do that, even if you don't use it in game. Let's talk about your Pip-Boy now. So as always, you have your Pip-Boy, which comes up. A lot of people dismiss this first page, but it's actually quite useful in Fallout 76, because the one thing that Fallout 76 I guess does differently to other Fallouts is food and drink. You have to keep yourself fed and watered. You can see in the bottom right you have a little knife and fork and a water, so you can see that at the minute I've got about half my water and a little bit down of food, so I can eat some water, so drink some water. You'll notice that what it says there is HP, so 25, and then water 25%. So it'll regenerate 25% of my water, whatever that is, and it will give me a HP boost as well of 25. So we can kind of drink that. You can see my HP on the left goes up slightly, and then my water goes up, and then we got the water at the top, and then we can eat something as well. What you'll notice is as well, some things are cooked and some things aren't. So you have little camp stations, very similar to Fallout 4 actually, where you cook things. I think the difference with Fallout 4, unless you played survival, was you could make food and drink, but it was mostly used to regenerate health rather than hunger. You have pretty much the same style cooking station, and then you can make the food as you wish. You can cook it. If you don't cook it, you will have a much higher chance to get a disease. And diseases are bad because disease cures are rare and expensive to make, so you don't really want to get diseases. I need to sort that out actually, it's a little bit tight around there. Anyway, going off topic. So yeah, so once you eat something, get yourself whatever you want to eat. You can see some of the food still gives you rads even when you eat it. See, it does max AP boost as well, and then you see food there 10%. Food spoils. I don't know if they've fixed it yet, but if you press in the left stick on your controller, it should sort things through to what is going to spoil. If you see on the bottom there, it says sort spoil. It actually doesn't work at the minute, and it just does it alphabetically. But you can tell by condition there. You see that's halfway, so it's halfway to getting to spoil. So you can kind of have a look through and just check on what you should be eating first. That Deathclaw steak's nearly gone there, you see, so I might as well just chomp down on that. Now, when you are fully fed and watered, you will get a special effect called well fed. So you get max HP plus 25, disease resistance plus 25, well hydrated, disease resistance plus 25, AP regen plus 25. So it's important to get yourself well fed and watered, because otherwise you may pick up diseases, which can be a right pain in the arse if you don't have a disease cure. And they also give you boost to your AP, which is your action points, which is used for VATS and used for sprinting, used for melee fighting, and stuff like that. So it's important to keep that boosted. You can also get some perks which will help to give you extra bonuses for being well fed. So that's cool. Don't worry too much if you about storing food all the time and this type of thing. You come across animals all the time. You come across stuff you can cook and drink all the time. The easiest thing to do, if you don't have a camp, just find a water source of some kind, even if it's a river. You just collect some water. You can see X there collects it. You get dirty water. You can use dirty water, you cook it and it makes boiled water, which gives you a lot less rads. It's not purified. You have to get a purifier to do that, or find purified water in the world. But what you can also do with boiled water is then make it into teas and stuff like that. So you can see I've got boiled water, and then that allows me to then make some teas by collecting flowers and stuff like that around. What you find is when stuff does go, when your food and drink does go off, it goes to what's spoiled meat, spoiled vegetables. You can still keep it and turn it into fertilizer at your chem station. We'll go into the different stations and what they do in a minute, but it's not totally useless. Once it goes spoiled, you can turn it into fertilizer, which helps you to obviously you need that to plant your crops. So one of the perks of Fallout 76 is you get your camp, which is your little base, I guess, and yours probably won't look like this to begin with, and it probably shouldn't, because you shouldn't really think too much about where you're going to place a camp until much later down the line, because you're going to be moving around a lot. The map in Fallout 76 is huge, and you move around it a lot when you do the quest line. If you follow the main quest line, you will go to each of the areas. You won't find every detail. That's for the exploration side of things, but you will go to every area. The quest line takes you through all of it, so you don't have to worry about going, oh, am I going to go here, am I going to go there? The quest line will take you to the different regions as you go through, and it's important to note that the different regions will have higher levels as well. So when you finally get to this kind of region, this is when everything is mostly max level, really. So it's important to realise that. While we're talking about exploration, actually, around the world you will see these towers. These are really good, and it's something the game doesn't tell you, but when you get to the top, and we'll run up to the top now, let's go actually, there'll probably be something up here actually as well. There usually is a ghoul or something waiting at the top. There he is, and there he was. Got the caps. When you get to the top, I won't be able to do it because I've already done it, but when you get to the edge here, it will come up and say survey area. You usually press button A, so you press A. That will then unlock areas on your map for you to explore, so they will be grey rather than blue, and you won't be able to fast travel to them yet, but you'll know where they are, and it's really, really useful. The game never tells you you can do that, so it's a little thing you pick up. But whenever you see one of these towers, especially when you go to a new region, it's a really good idea to go up it and kind of find that out. So that's just a little tip there, which is useful because my camp is actually next to one of these towers. If we go back to the Pip-Boy actually once I get down here, and I'll explain some of the other stuff. So I keep pressing the wrong button for the Pip-Boy, but yeah, so as you can see, we're still well fed. I have a mutation, which is the Plague Walker there. You can see that little sign. Mutations happen when you take a lot of radiation. They can be good, they can be bad. That's a good one, because you can see if I get a disease, I get a poison aura, which will harm things coming near me. Later on, when you get to a more higher level, you can get perks which allow you to keep mutations even if you use Radaway, because when you use Radaway takes away radiation. Down here it will be Radaway takes away radiation, which is the little red line on your HP bar, reducing your HP. Normally that would get rid of the mutation, but you can get perks which keep it, because sometimes weapons and armor have perks which make them better if you have a mutation, and sometimes you want to keep the mutation because it's pretty good. So that's something there in there, but you don't worry about that at the beginning anyway, because you won't have that those perks. You can see that the food does give me perks. 24 minutes I have +2 strength, energy resistance, max AP, and my disease resistance now has gone down because I use Radaway. So using chems will reduce your disease resistance. So it's probably about level, because I had +25 for the well-fed and well-hydrated. So that is something to consider as well. Then you have your special stats, which People familiar with Fallout will know, but if you're not, strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, luck. So strength is how much you can carry, how hard you hit with melee items. It is also some other stuff. So heavy guns use the strength as well. Perception, as in the perks will, but I'll go through those in a sec. Perception is your awareness of nearby enemies, the ability to detect stealth movements, and your weapon accuracy and VATS. So you want that high if you're going to use VATS. Endurance is your health essentially, and your action point drain, and your resistance to diseases. Charisma is leadership. It also, as you can imagine now with Wastelanders, works for skill checks on when you're talking to people. If you play with other people, your charisma will probably want to be higher. If you're going to play on your own, it will want to be probably not so high. One thing to note about Fallout 76 is you can play with friends and you can play on your own. There is really not much difference in terms of the way the game is. Sure, it's fun to play with friends, absolutely, but you can play this game as a single player and it won't affect you in any way. Every quest, every enemy, there is no enemy that you can't kill on your own when you get to good enough level, obviously. The one exception would be doing events, but they generally people will generally join you anyway. Randoms and things like that will generally join you anyway to complete those events because they get rewards for them, so you don't really have to worry about that. But certainly in terms of quests that you do, everything can be completed on your own with no issue. Things will scale slightly, it'd be slightly easier with other people generally, but otherwise you can just feel free to play on your own. There's no real difference there. Intelligence, so this is your ability to hack terminals, the conditioned durability of items that you craft, and what you get from scrapping items as well. Agility is your action points in VATS, ability to sneak, and luck is luck, so critical hits, etc., duration, loot, and things like that. The maximum you can go to in any one thing is 15. However, as you can see, I have 21 strength. That's because other things give you extra in perks. You can see a little plus. That means things I'm using is giving me extra things in special. Then you have collection, which tells you your stuff that's going on here. Don't worry about anything other than caps when you're beginning. A lot of this stuff is late game. Caps is the currency which you will use in the game. It works a little bit differently to, I guess, other I guess it does and it doesn't work differently to other Fallout games. So you obviously get caps. The main use of caps is really to fast travel. So whenever you want to fast travel somewhere, so if I wanted to fast travel to, I don't know, Call It Mine, it would cost me 19 caps to do that. You can get perks which reduce the cost. He can shush to reduce the cost, but it will cost you money. It won't cost you that much if you are lower level. Once you level up and get more caps, it costs you more. That's just kind of, it's like a sliding scale basically. The richer you are, the more it costs. The other use of caps is for vendors. So you can have player vendors. You can see I have a vending machine outside here. They sell, you can sell items here that you perhaps know, or like recipes that you already know, plans you already know, to people, or weapons, ammo. You can sell anything actually. That you can sell absolutely anything. So you will sometimes see other player camps around the world. They will look like this little V here that have a vending machine, but they'll be green. There's none here because I'm playing on a private world at the minute, just for this video, really, because it's just a lot easier rather than having somebody come into my camp and doing whatever. But the other thing that you use caps on are vendors. So you have a lot of vendors around the world. Mostly you'll find vendors at train stations. Train stations are really good because train stations will have your stash box at them. So everyone will have a stash box, and they'll have a vendor as well. Your stash box is essentially your large inventory, which can be accessed through these stash boxes. Why that is important is because inventory space is limited, especially early game, because you won't have perks necessarily to begin with to make things lighter, so your inventory space can be useful. Generally you will have an inventory of maybe like 100 to 120 when you start. I currently have 345 because my strength is so high, and I have a backpack which you can get through doing a quest line, which gives me extra carry weight of 60. But your stash holds 800, so it's obviously being able to drop things off there like scrap, etc. is really important. So you can spend caps at the vendors, as I say. A good thing that a lot of people don't know, sometimes even high level, is that the White Spring Resort, they recently updated it so that it has very high level vendors there which sell high level power armor mods. So if you're maybe didn't realize that midway through the game or even towards the late game, you can pick up. They're very expensive, but you can pick up them there. So you can buy plans and recipes at different vendors, as well as items like guns, ammo, etc. I would advise probably not buying ammo because you can make it yourself and it is expensive, but I'll get into that in a minute. Plans and recipes are under your notes section in your inventory, and if they have known that, it means you already know it. If they don't, then you just click on it and you learn it, and that allows you to craft the item that it is. There'll be either food, drink, weapons, armor, and then mods for weapons and armor, essentially. So recipes are obviously food and drink, plans are for weapons and armor. There you use your crafting stations to make things. So we have the weapons workbench where you can craft weapons, you can modify your weapons, and you can repair weapons. The armor workbench is the same but for armor. It's also worth pointing, you see the little X there which says scrap items. You can go into any workbench, even power armor workbenches. Thanks, Settler Forager. You can go to any workbench, press X, then Y, and it will scrap all the items in inventory. I don't have a lot, but that is very useful because scrapped items weigh a lot less than non-scrapped items. You have a Tinker's workbench. This will allow you to make ammo, grenades, mines, things like that once you have the... it also allows you to make bulk of items. Now, these were always a bit broken, so I never really used them. And I don't need to at the minute. I'll show you why in a minute, but you can do that. What it should do is when you make a bulk of something, it should reduce the weight of it, again helping you, but I'm not sure it never used to, so I don't know if it does. But you can make ammo, you see here as well. Especially early game, ammo is pretty expensive, especially if you're using a lot of it. So I would say early game is be wary of using anything automatic. So automatic rifles, pistols, etc. will, miniguns, if you happen to get one early on, will chew through your ammo like no one's business, and it is expensive to make ammo. You can get perks as well which increase the amount of ammo you make, but even then I can make, I think, 180 minigun 5mm minigun ammo, and it cost me 15 lead, 30 steel, 8 gunpowder, which is a lot, and 180 mini gun ammo is basically like one legendary per enemy probably, so it's expensive to make. So think about that. It's probably better to use single shot weapons to begin with in the game, or the weapon I recommend is the bow. The reason being, it's single shot, it's quite powerful, it's silent, it's cool to use. You can see I have the flaming mod on it. It scales, you can get perks for it. It looks pretty cool. Doesn't take up too much of the screen, I don't think, compared to some of the larger weapons. And it's relatively cheap ammo as well. You can get the plans for the bow at either Foundation, which is down here, or at the crater up there if you want to get it straight away. I think you do also pick it up in a quest early on as well, so it's quite an early weapon you can use, but it does scale to use. I use it still now at the end level, so I wouldn't necessarily say I'd take it into battle against you know on an event or something like that, but for kind of wandering around and taking things out stealthily, it's pretty good. So yeah, once you get the plan, you can just craft it in your workbench. And what you notice as well is that when you craft things, so for example the bow, you have different levels for it. So you can get level 1 bow if you want, and then it will scale with the damage up. It won't scale anything else, so it'll be exactly the same fire rate, range, accuracy that you have, but it's just the damage scales when you make high levels. So as you go through, say you hit level 15, you had a level 10 bow, you can just go back and make a level 15 bow. And you also see that the condition will go up as well as you get higher. So that is, you know, how long it is till that item breaks on there. You generally are fine with single shot weapons. They'll last quite a long time. Automatic weapons will break quite quickly because I guess it takes off a condition every time you fire. So if you're firing a lot, then they break quite quickly. So you can repair them in there, and they generally don't cost a lot for the weapons you'll be using early on, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Once you start getting to higher level weapons, they do cost quite a lot to repair, but you can get perks which reduce the amount of stuff you have to spend on them to repair them. So something to bear in mind. My tip there is use the bow early on if you like it, but the kind of important thing I think in Fallout 76 is don't get stuck on any one weapon probably until you're level 50, because level 50 is the cap for weapons and armor. You won't find anything above level 50, so that's the damage limit. So anything you get once you hit level 50, you can still get low level weapons once you hit level 50, but you won't get anything higher than level 50, so you can then commit to a weapon knowing you're not going to get something better than that. But up until then, you might as well just use what you find fun or what you have ammo for, and on there. And I guess that brings us along a little bit to the perks, which is, I think, the really good and unique thing which they do in Fallout 76 compared to other MMOs, if you like, which is technically is, but it's a bit different. So when you go into your Pip-Boy, you go into your perks, which are here. Whenever you level up, you get to pick a perk card. I think at every 5 levels or 10, one of the two, you get a pack of like 5, and they're random generally. And you also get to put up to like level 50. You get to put in a point somewhere. Can't remember how many levels. It might be every level. I don't think it's every level. 10, 25. It might be every level. Into one of these special criteria. Say for example, my agility here is 12. This means I can put cards up to totaling 12 into that there. So if you want to have more cards in your agility, you want to have a higher agility. Same for everything else. It's worth noting that even though my strength is technically 21, it will max out 15 on here. So you can't just, ram it up with everything. Don't worry. People will tell you about doing builds and things like that. Honestly, don't worry about that until you hit level 50, because just do what you think is fun. The only things I would say which are really good to take in terms of perks would be the ones which reduce your weight. So strength is generally in there. Travelling pharmacy reduces your weight of chems. Sturdy framed armour, and you can get things like bandolier, ballistic weapon ammo. If you're using ballistic weapons a lot, that's great. If you don't worry about it. And pack rat reduces junk item weight by 75. So they're good perks to get because inventory management is a pain in the butt, basically there. Then your 3 lick pots, love it, picklock cards are good to open up safes, etc. You can get the hacking equivalent, which is in intelligence. However, I don't find the hacking that useful. I find that whatever I need to get into generally will have a lock and a terminal to hack. So I generally just go for the picklocks. Got a little bow one there as well, which is where it goes in. Other ones are quite useful here. If you're finding problems with insects, exterminator is pretty good there. There are lots of VAT ones as well. which allow you to like gain accuracy there. And then you have endurance. I always have quite low endurance because a lot of the perks I find in endurance just do things like chems generate less thirst, or 60% less radiation from eating or drinking. One thing I will say is you won't ever get short of stim packs or Radaway. You find them everywhere. You honestly do. So I don't generally use the perks which do that kind of stuff, and you find food everywhere. So I don't generally waste my time with endurance that much. Some people might do, I guess, but I don't find it. The two things I have in here currently, Cola Nut. Nuka-Cola products are now 3 times as beneficial. Your Nuka-Cola is fairly rare, but you do find a fair amount. And if you have Cola Nut, it gives you a lot of health back when you drink some, and a cap as well, because you get the top of it. And I generally have Good Doggy on. That way you eat a dog food and it'll do like 3/4 of your food health bar, and you find dog food quite a lot. But I was actually running low, so I switched it out to reduce chance of catching disease. And then if you're playing on your own, Lone Wanderer is a really good perk. So you also see these little stars on the perk cards. That means you can put like multiple cards into it. So for example, Cola Nut there has 2. So if we inspect it, you can see at level 1, Nuka-Cola's products are twice as beneficial. When you get a second card, you combine them, and then Nuka-Cola products are now 3 times as beneficial. So you get different perks. Same with like Lone Wanderer. At 1 is 10%, 2 is 15% less damage, 20% less damage. It's a really good perk if you play on your own. If you don't use it because it will do nothing. And then you go to intelligence, and the ones in intelligence which are useful are the makeshift warrior and the gunsmith, because they will allow you to craft weapons and mods up to a high level. Which is once you get there, but you don't really have to worry about that until you're getting up to the late levels, to be honest with you there. In agility, Born Survivor can be pretty useful. So once falling below 30% health, you'll automatically use a stim pack. It can be quite useful. I have my sneak ones on as well. It's worth pointing out that the Mr. Sandman, so at night your silenced weapons do an additional 25% sneak attack damage, works on bows. So bow does count as a silenced weapon. I should get the second one if actually do 50%, that would be even better. And then you have luck. The one I was talking about there is Starched Jeans before, saying I won't ever get rid of my mutation if I use Radaway, which is quite useful. In luck you will get a lot of ones which, for example, Scrounger is always useful, finding extra ammo. Ammo can be the bane of your life, especially if you're using automatic weapons. Bloody Mess is pretty good because it makes your enemies explode in gory red paste, but also gives you bonus damage without just across the board. What you do once you start having a feel, I guess, for what you like, is you can start to prioritize the cards which give extra damage. So for example, I in this build use heavy guns and to a certain extent some two-handed weapons, but I don't generally use them at the same time. So I've actually been using a one-handed weapon in here because I had a pretty cool baseball bat as well, but then I found the flaming chainsaw mod and it absolutely rips things apart. So it's a dual flaming chainsaw, and despite it only being level 20, it is absolutely incredible for damage. It will tear apart high level ghouls and scorched and things like that, even super mutants as well, so it's really good. Yeah, but anyway, so they're perks, and then you can make a decision if you're going to use power armor. There are a lot of power armor perks in intelligence. What I would say about power armor is this: you won't get power armor until at least level 25, so don't worry about it to begin with. It's level capped at that. It absolutely gives you more defense than any set of normal armor that you get. So at the minute I'm not in power armor until you get very late on in the game. I'm talking like higher level than what I am really now, when you could talk about the Secret Service armor, but that's a whole other thing to discuss. So power armor, if you find yourself being a bit like I'm dying a lot, power armor is great to use because it gives you a lot of defense. It looks pretty cool as well. There's multiple different sets of it to kind of get. The one you can do for a quest line is called the excavator set, which I do have, but I won't get it out right now. And that also gives you bonus to your carry capacity as well, which is really useful. So if you want to go out on runs just to collect scrap and stuff like that, which you need to craft things, then it's really good. I'm not too keen on using power armor all the time because one, weirdly my carry capacity goes down, because what's worth noting is when you're in power armor, your perks that you get from your normal armor, obviously you're not wearing it in the power armor, so they don't apply. Just the perks you have on your power armor. And because I don't use my backpack, I lose like 60 carry capacity, so I always get over encumbered. So I if I'm going somewhere, I'll fast travel there, and then I'll switch into my power armor to go into battle, sort of thing. Power armor boosts your strength as well, so it's good with melee weapons to use, and it does use fusion cores. However, you can find fusion cores fairly easily, especially late game. It's very easy to get them. You would just go to either the power station here, Poseidon, or up here, Thunder Mountain, and you can hook up, and there's actually fusion core generators there as well. There is also up here a place which makes ammo for you if you take over a workshop here and do it, but it's very slow. To be honest with you, I wouldn't necessarily say it's that worthwhile really, unless you're going to sit there for the whole day on it. So yeah, you can, power armor comes on frames, and then you can kind of make it up, and the frame will only the power armor itself, the individual parts are very heavy, but the frame altogether weighs 10, so you can carry it around with you no problems, and then just deploy it when you need it, basically, which is generally what I do. But it can be pretty useful. So it's up to you if you want to go for power armor or not. You don't have to. The one thing I will say though is you should always have a set, because later on in the game you will need it to go into nuke zones. I don't want to spoil too much of what the game is, but nuke zones are where you nuclear weapons can be launched and they explode on an area, creating a very high radiation, which kind of twists the landscape a little bit. And there's stuff which you can only get in nuke zones, and if you're just using Radaway and stuff like that, you're probably going to die very quickly. So it's a good idea to have power armor for that. You don't have to, like, you can do the whole game without power armor. It is a little bit more difficult though, but in general, like going around the world, you don't have to have power armor, but you probably would have to do things like sneak and stuff like that to get the benefits of that, because if you're going full force into a high level group of super mutants or something, then you're going to have problems. Also worth knowing, some weapons you can't use in power armor. So for example, you can't use the power fist, you can't use the bow in power armor, I guess because the dexterity isn't there, maybe, I don't know why. So it has its ups and downs, power armor, is what I'm saying basically. I don't think anybody's always in power armor wandering around. I think people mostly do what I do, which is they keep a set on them and then they deploy it when they need it, basically. Otherwise they'll just go around. But what I would definitely say is don't worry about where you're committing your points. Once you hit level 50, you can redistribute your points. You can, once you level up each time, you can move a point. Say I could move a point from strength to perception if I wanted to. So you can change your build. You're not stuck with anything. So don't worry too much about where you're putting things. Just doing things that you enjoy, play around with. You don't have to min-max everything. I'm not a min-max, and I've never had a problem killing anything in the game. Sure, there's been times where I've died, and there's been times where there's been tight scrapes and things like that, absolutely. But it's fun to experiment, and there's loads and loads of different weapons in the game. Don't just be like, I'm going to use this because this is the best. And by the way, there isn't a best weapon in the game. Every weapon has ups and downs. There isn't a best build. Everything has an up and a down, as you go through. early on in the game, you still get legendary weapons and armor. These will be dropped by either you will get them for completing quests. Certain quests you get certain legendary items, which are usually pretty good. The ones you get from quests are usually pretty good, but also legendary enemies, I guess, could be anything, will drop a legendary item. So you'll see when you come across them, their name bar will say legendary, and I have 1, 2 or 3 star. That depicts how difficult they are to kill. It does not depict what level legendary you get, because legendaries come in 1, 2 and 3 stars. That's a 2-star legendary, that's a 3-star legendary. Yeah, it's difficult. It's a random luck of what you're going to get from someone. You could get a really good legendary drop, you could get a terrible one drop, like a rolling pin or something like that. But legendaries are still worth something even if you don't use them, because nowadays, it wasn't in there to begin with in the game, but you have what's something called the purveyor. The purveyor resides at the rusty pick down here, and what they allow you to do is you can basically kind of exchange your legendaries for legendary script. So in my collection here, you can see I've got 136 currently, and then you cash them in for a chance to get a different legendary with the purveyor. And depending on what you want, depending on whether you want a 1, 2 or 3, it will cost you different amounts. So for a 3-star legendary ranged or melee weapon, it's 100 legendary script. If you cash in a 3-star legendary weapon, you'll get about 40 back. So it's not terrible. You also get legendary script for completing events and things like that as well. So and quests actually as well, you get it for now, which is quite good. So you'll get a lot. I would say hold on to that until you reach level 50, because otherwise you're going to get low level items that you won't want to use when you hit level 50, and then you can go cash it in when you're level 50 and get your whole set hopefully of legendary items and things like that you want to use. Again, it's a little bit random in that you don't know what the item's going to be, you don't know what the perks are going to be. I would say my hit rate with the purveyor is probably 1 in 10 potentially. Is really good. So I got, for example, I didn't get that from them. I got some. I'll show you what I got actually. Excuse me, sir. In my stash box, I got. You can also sell your legendary weapons as well. Some people might want to buy them. I got a bloody Gatling plasma, which is pretty good. I got a. I got this weapon as well, which is my minigun, which absolutely shreds through things as well. But I also got things which are just not useful at all. Thank you, Setter Forager. Yeah, so you cash them in. I would recommend saving your legendary script until you hit level 50, and then using it, unless you hit the cap. I don't know what the cap is for the amount you can hold. I don't know if there is a cap for the amount you can hold, but if there is, then obviously just go to there and then use bits. Don't waste it. You will get legendary weapons as you go through the game at lower levels anyway. But as I said, if you're using a level, even if it's a really good one, you're not going to want to use a level 20 legendary if you're level 40, because even with good perks, it's still going to be pretty weak compared to the level 40 stuff you get. As I showed you with crafting the bow, the damage difference between the levels is significant. If we have a look here again, you'll see that for some reason bow is under machine guns, but so level 1 it does 44 damage, you can see there. Level 50 is 99, so it's over double. Well, a little bit, it's pretty much double the damage, which is significant on a single shot weapon. With perks and things like that, which then give you bonus percentages if you're sneaking or if it's nighttime. This bow will do 300 damage easily if I'm sneaking. If I was using the level 1, it would probably only do 150. So that's the difference between killing an enemy in 1 shot and having to 2-shot an enemy. And when you fire quite slowly with a bow, that is a big difference. So you probably wouldn't want to be using a low level bow compared to level 50. But having said that, some weapons don't go up to level 50, so that's important to know as well. Don't think of, well, for example, the chainsaw only goes up to level 20. That's the highest level it will go to. Gatling lasers only go to level 45. So some things won't go to a higher level, but they can still be good. The chainsaw is still really good at level 20. I don't know if I've got anything to kill with it, but it is pretty awesome. Only if you get the mods though, and I think you need to be quite high level to mod it, like on the makeshift warrior one, which allows you to mod things. I don't know if these guys have respawned up here yet. No, they haven't. Shame. I was going to tear them up. But yeah, let's talk about the camp a little bit. So in your camp, when you build it, you can move your camp wherever you want. You can build it wherever you want, build it however you want, do whatever you want. I'm pretty happy where I am here. I think it's a good placement. I'm near White Springs, which is a good place to farm for legendaries. Has good vendors, has a station I can get to nearby to sell stuff if I'm over encumbered. I love the view it gives, and it's usually quite private around here as well. There's not usually that many people. It also has some high level ghouls up here which you can kill to test out weapons, things like that. I call it my little testing range. So I think this is pretty good, like for an end game level. But what you have to bear in mind is you can fast travel for free to Vault 76, so it won't cost me anything to fast travel there, and you can always fast travel back to your camp for free. So you probably won't want to have your camp next to Vault 76. You probably want to have it, once you finally do it, somewhere over this side of the map, because it'll be, for example, if I wanted to go to Woods Estate here, I would fast travel to 76, then fast travel up there, and it would save me 20 caps probably to do that, which is not insignificant if you're bouncing around everywhere fast traveling. So yeah, when you finally do your camp, it's a good idea to place things. Another thing people do to make money as well is have a lot of purifiers to make purified water and sell. So these purifiers work when you're on the ground, but the really high level ones only work when you're next to water. So some people want to build their base next to water, which is totally fine. And yeah, I guess otherwise, wherever you want to go wherever you like. You can, as I said, you can move it any time. You can rebuild it any time. I could blueprint this in here. I could create a blueprint and save this whole camp and then go somewhere else and then just place it down. So it's quite good. A lot of people are really into the camp building. I like it personally. You find recipes for camp stuff around the world as well. A lot of stuff though you will buy in the Atom shop as well, which is a little bit, I guess, of a bone of contention for a lot of people, the Atom shop. But realistically nowadays in MMOs there is always some shop element to it where people pay real money, because that is what keeps MMOs going, and a lot of people don't like it, and I get it. I totally get it, but I also think it's a little naive to think that doesn't exist, if that makes sense. The Atom shop you can get to any time. You just go to the menu and then go in the Atom shop. This is where you purchase things with the in-game currency called atoms. You can buy atoms. They actually have some new stuff here as well, which is pretty cool. Oh, I like that watermill. That's pretty cool. You see some stuff is limited time only, etc, etc. You get skins for things, you get outfits, you get power armor skins, which are pretty, intense, and stuff like that. Which you use to purchase with atoms. You earn atoms by doing challenges. So you can see in the top right there it says challenges. You have daily challenges you can do. You can see you earn atoms there. Kill rad scorpions in the Savage Divine. Kill a legendary enemy gets me 20 atoms. Then you have weekly. Claim the workshop. Lakeside cabins will get me 30 atoms. If you go through these, you will get quite a lot of atoms, to be fair. Acquire different kinds of diseases. Collect wood. Harvest nucleoflora. Deploy camp to settle Appalachia. So if you deploy your camp 76 times, you get 40 atoms. killing stuff gets you atoms, things like that as well. So it's you do earn them as you kind of go through, which is kind of cool. But if we're completely honest here, if you want to get a lot of stuff from the atom shop and not just one or two bits here and there, you're probably going to have to buy atoms. That's always a bone of contention for people, I guess. The other thing you can do as well, if you really enjoy the game after this weekend and you want to purchase it, you can also sign up for what's called Fallout First. Fallout First is a monthly subscription. Oh, I'm actually very thirsty now. Didn't realise how long we had been going for here. Fallout First is like a monthly subscription where you trying to find something to eat. Grilled Rastag, there we go. It's a monthly subscription. I think it's like about £8 in the UK. Obviously vary wherever you are. And each month you get a certain number of atoms added to your account. You get the ability to play on private worlds, and you get this thing here called the scrap box as well. The scrap box holds all your junk. It is very good. It's probably worth, if you really like the game and are like, I'm going to play through this game, do all the quests, stuff like that, it's probably worth signing up to Fallout First for a couple of months just so you get the scrap box. What it does is it holds all your junk, so you no longer need to keep junk in your stash. All your junk is kept in your scrap box here, and junk will weigh a lot, especially when you start getting up to hundreds of items as well, so it is really worth it basically. I'm nearly at my max in the stash and I have no junk in there. If I had all that junk in there, it would probably be about, I don't know, 1,500 weight. So it just wouldn't work, would it? So it's worth doing it just for that. You get atoms, you get some free stuff as well with it. You get the private world if you're into that. I quite like doing the private world for the story quests, so I can go through places and know that someone hasn't been through previously and wiped out the ghouls or whatever that are there. Or you don't just get somebody like constantly jumping around in front of you, which is a little bit immersion breaking. So yeah, but it's up to you. Obviously you can play with friends on your private world as well. You can invite up to 8, I think, something like that, which is pretty cool. You only have to have like one person with Fallout First. The other bone of contention with the Atom Shop is repair kits and scrap kits. You can buy repair kits which will allow you to repair weapons and armour without using resources, and scrap kits which basically they will, if you're in the middle of nowhere, over encumbered, have a load of scrap, use a scrap kit, it sends all your scrap to your stash. I don't think the scrap kits are that useful personally. The repair kits are very useful, especially on high level items, because high level armour in particular will use what's called ballistic fibre, and it's quite rare in the world, and it uses like 5 I think every time. You get the scavenger collector as well from the Atom Shop, which is pretty cool. So it's ballistic fibre is annoying to get and expensive to buy if you buy it from a vendor. So repair kits are useful in that sense. People hate the fact that it's kind of almost like, it feels like a pay to win mechanic. I don't necessarily agree with that personally, but it is a bit, because they're not, oh god, I'm falling off. Okay, we're going down here now. I'm not personally, I don't think they're that much, are they, to buy just with atoms? But utility, so you can get a repair kit for 50 atoms, and you can earn 50 atoms quite easily each day, and your stuff doesn't break that much. So I don't think that they're totally pay to win. Like, I think you can earn a lot of atoms just from doing your challenges each day. If you spend, if you're logging in each day and spending, really like the game, and you're spending a couple of hours, you'll definitely earn 50 atoms across the day just doing your dailies. Just look at what it is, do your daily, and then get your atoms. Oh, hello. I knew there was someone here. So yeah, this is nice as well. Yeah, well, don't go up there because there's already a camp there. This would be a good place, I guess, but it's a lot longer to walk into White Springs. It's quite flat, I guess, in terms of the base building. If you're looking for like tutorials on base building, there's loads of good like YouTubers out there who will help you out on there. I'm certainly not a pro on it at all, but I quite like the way my place looks up there as well. Right, what else do we need to go through on the Pip-Boy? So you have your we've been through stats. Items are obviously, yeah, your I've got a lot of junk on me actually. I probably shouldn't. Oh well. Yeah, items here. You've got your ammo, your weapons, apparel, your clothing. What's good about this is you can wear your clothing over the top of your what do I want to say? Over the top of your armor. So, for example, if I take off my jumpsuit, you'll see that's what I look like with my armor. It's a little bit higgledy-piggledy because they just have good perks on them and stuff like that. It doesn't look great, does it? So, but if I wear my jumpsuit, yay, it doesn't appear. So, from a fashion point of view, it looks a little bit better to wear. And there's loads of stuff around you can find, like apparel for and stuff like that you like in the game. So that's cool. We've got aid, which is all your chems, stuff like that. If you don't use chems that much, sell them because they are worth quite a lot of money. MISC is keys and access cards. Bobby pins as well. Bobby pins are what you use to get into safes. So it's quite important to have a good supply of them. They can be fairly rare in the world, but generally you would only break one on a good lock of two. So don't worry too much. Holotapes. These are holotapes from things. What's important to know as well is you can use a holotape so you can play it, and then you can just go about your business and it will play. You don't have to worry about standing there in your Pip-Boy and it stopping, which is a nice thing. I am going to just stop that though while we're there. Notes are all your plans. There are also some handwritten notes, your treasure maps, which you find. I've got loads I haven't like found. Oh, I have a plan there I didn't know. So you just click on the plan to read it. There you go. Crafting item unlocked. But I know all these recipes, so I'm going to chuck them into my stash to sell, probably. Junk is obviously all the junk you collect. Make sure you break it down. Mods are mods for guns, don't have any on me. And then all your ammo as well. Some ammo weighs a ton. For example, a mini nuke will weigh 6. Fusion cores weigh a lot. Plasma cores don't weigh a huge amount for what they do. 40mm grenades, I hate them, weigh so much. I usually chuck all my ammo for guns I'm not using into my stash and then kind of go from there. And once I get too high level, too much of a certain thing, I'll just have to chuck it out. You can't sell ammo unless you sell it in a vending machine. When you do drop something, you'll get this little paper bag here, so you can pick it back up again if you accidentally drop something, don't worry. You'll sometimes find these around the world where people have dropped this. If you're in an event and you see paper bags laying around, don't pick them up, because sometimes people are trying to play around with their inventory and it's quite bad manners to just steal things from other people. Because if I drop something, anyone else in the world can come pick that up. You can also trade with people, so you don't have to go do that, but just FYI there on that. So yeah, then we have that's your items. Data is your quest line, so you have main quests here. I'll tell you all the ones you completed, side quests, daily quests you'll get as well, which do reward you with certain things. In miscellaneous as well, these will be things which will activate daily quests in there. You have events as well, which might be going. You can see in the top right there, you have your events there. If you untick them, they'll go away. So only have the ones on that you are actually actively doing, basically. When you go into the map, a new thing they did for Wastelanders was they did these little ones. When it's a little diamond with black inside it, that means it's a quest you have there, but it's not activated. If you just click on it, you can toggle it to activate it, and then you can toggle to unactivate it. So it can be quite good if you're like, oh, I'm going to this area for this quest. Oh, there's another one nearby here, actually. I might as well do that. Just lets you know you have quests kind of in those areas. The little, what are they, hexagons here are events. You can fast travel to events, even if you've not been there before. So you can click to join the event as well, which is quite a good way sometimes to get to an area you haven't been to before. So say you wanted to get to the back of the ash heap here, which is this area, and there was an event there. Click on the event, you can join it, and then you can go from there and explore some places, and then you can fast travel back there when you need to. These little icons are workshops which you can take over and get resources from. If you're playing on server with other people can attack your workshop and take it over, so be wary. I don't think a lot of people do nowadays though. So yeah, and then there's a big event thing, guided meditation, going on there at the minute. These little events here you can easily do on your own. The bigger ones, which was just there, you will probably need other people to help you out on, unless you're really, really good. So bear that in mind. As well. Yeah, I'm just trying to think actually. Let me look at my list, see if I've got anything else that I didn't kind of have a look at. Two things I would say really good to bulk up on your scrap: steel and wood. You'd be surprised how much of them you use. You use wood for cooking quite often. You use steel for pretty much everything. There are some good places to go if you want wood. There are some like lumber yards and things like that around, which obviously have quite a lot. But I find just around Vault 76 around here, the fallen logs and things like that, there's loads of them. You can just gather wood from. You can get a lot just around there. I'm trying to look what else there is. Holotapes, yeah, we've done that. Oh, playing instruments gives you boosts as well. So sometimes you'll find instruments around the world. You might have them at your camp. I think I've got a cello at mine. Let me just run up here and work it out. They give you boosts as well, so they can be worth doing. Let's pay this bass. You have to play it for a little bit for it to activate. And you'll play a little bit here. Yeah, fast travel we've talked about. You can rest in a bed to heal HP, but be careful. Don't use sleeping bags because you can get diseases from them. So any bed you see around the world you can sleep in, but if it's a sleeping bag, don't sleep in it. There we go. If you feel well tuned, that's the bonus. You can just walk away from it now. And if we have a look. Effects, where is it? Well tuned, AP regen plus 25. So, you know, quite good. And it lasts for 59 minutes. It lasts for an hour. So you do that one an hour. It's pretty good. I think I've pretty much gone through all the things which I kind of said to do. So yeah, my recommendation if you're starting out is have fun. Don't worry too much about what weapons you're using. You know, for different things, you're gonna change it nearly every level, or at least every 5 levels. You'll change what weapons you're using because you'll get different ones, which kind of come around from there. Do the quest line. If you do the what used to be the main quest line, I guess, the non-Wastelanders one, you it will take you around the whole map. Feel free to, you know, explore a little bit, but you don't have to worry about that too much at the beginning because the quest will take you around different places. The Wastelanders main has a kind of tutorial mission, I guess, where you go to the Wayward. It's quite long and it's really good fun, really interesting. So do that by all means, but then you'll find to do the actual Wastelanders questline proper, you'll need to be level 20. So you just carry on with the main missions, the overseers missions, things like that. You will get to level 20 pretty quickly. It's not too difficult to do that. Doing quests, I find, is the best way to get experience and level up. It also gives you other items like caps, and you get items for completing quests like radaways, purified water, etc. Sometimes weapons, armor. So it's really good to just kind of go around and do the quests. And yeah, have some fun. Listen to the lore. It's really interesting. The holotapes. You know, and then decide whether or not you think Fallout 76 is for you. I'm hoping they haven't released a roadmap yet to say what they're going to do in the future, but you know, I think everyone's hoping they continue on this course because Wastelanders has been excellent so far. I've completed the main quest line through with the settlers. On my lower level character, I'm going to be completing the raider quest line, so I'm looking forward to that. But it was really good, really interesting. and brought in a lot of new people, obviously interesting characters, things like that. So yeah, hopefully you will enjoy it if you're just starting out playing Fallout 76, or if you are picked up the game a week ago or something like that and a little bit confused about some things. Feel free to leave a question. I'll try and answer it as best I can. But I would say that until you get to level 50, don't worry about builds. Like, really don't, because you don't, if you really want to do like high level PvP, this probably isn't the video for you anyway, but because I don't generally do it. You don't have to worry about PvP, by the way. Other people can't attack you in the game, just as a note. So unless you want to initiate PvP with them, there's nothing they can do that will hurt you. So yeah, bear that in mind. But otherwise, I think we're just about there. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you've found some of these little tips and things like that useful to know. But hopefully you'll be enjoying the game. See you soon.